covered put. So what is a covered put? Well, when we use the term cash secured or covered, we're talking about opening a trade starting short, meaning we sold to open. And when we sell to open an option, there has to be something covering that trade. Say every option is a contract and agreement, and you have to think about what the contract is obligating you to. So if we sell a put, the contract obligation is that if somebody, quote, puts the stock to us, that we have to be able to buy that stock at the strike we sold. Think about SPY for an example at $604. If I sell a put here at the 600 strike, I'm now obligated that should I be assigned, if somebody exercises their right and puts the stock on me, that I buy 100 shares of SPY at $600 a share. If I don't have that kind of money in my account, then I can't do a cash secured put, but I can still sell a put. I just have to cover that put somehow. Well, how could I cover that put? One of the ways that I could cover the put is if I also buy a put. Remember, the put buyer has the right to put the stock on somebody. So on the put I sold, somebody could, put it to me. But if I have a long put, then I can put it to somebody else. And then, well, I don't have to cover the stock. So let's see this in action. We'll come in and we'll take a look at SPY and we will grab the 600 strike here. If I sell that put, I need to cover it somehow. Now I can go with, 595. I covered it. And in fact, I could get this trade and still have a credit left over. Remember, I sold the put because I want the credit. It has $10.50 in there. But if I can't afford to buy 100 shares, I can't do this with a cash secured put. I have to secure it some other way. So if I buy the 595 and somebody puts it to me at 600, I could put it to somebody else at 595. My max loss, $500. The difference between those two strikes, right? And then of course I did get the credit. So, call it $1.50, then I lose out on that $5, but some of that $5 was covered in that credit. We could do a diagonal, a calendar. We could even do a debit spread if we wanted to, right? So if I still have that short put, I could come in and I could buy a put at a more expensive price, and I just have to cover the difference between the long put and the short put. This is not generally what you would see people do, because if they're premium selling and they're trying to sell a put to get premium, they don't want to spend all of that premium and then be long a put, right? When we do those, generally somebody wants to buy a put and it's $12.20, 12.25 here, and they think, wow, that's a lot of money for that put. Let me make it cheaper. I'll sell this put, and now I can, between the two of those, I can be long a put for $1.73, right? So that's generally why they would go that route. But if you're trying to sell premium and you sell this put, and then the broker says, well, you got to cover that put. You can't sell it naked. Well, you got to cover it somehow. If you don't have the cash to cover it, then sell a put somewhere else, and that gives you coverage. You could sell a cheaper one, right? Like 580. That way you still get more of that $10 that you're trying to have in credit, but you are obligated to cover the difference of those two strikes. So if someone puts the stock on me at 600 and I put it on someone else at 580, then I have to be able to cover that $20 difference between 600 and 580. Obviously, if the strikes are narrower, it kind of works out in your favor, for small account trades. So if we go in the front here where things are $1 wide, suppose I sell that 600 strike put here and I buy that 599 put there, I'm going to get some credit, and my max loss is now only $1, right? $100. So this is our way of covering a put. Now, I did mention diagonals and calendars. So in this 600 put here, if I sell that and I go farther out in time and I buy a put, well, I could actually buy the same one that I sold, right? So now I've got a calendar, but I don't have to do that. I could have, instead of, buying the 600 here, I could have done something like a 595 or, a 597. So I've still got a long put somewhere, and that covers my short put. If you're thinking about covering it using a calendar or a diagonal, just be mindful that the long put has to be farther out in time, right? So in this example, I had a February 21 put that I went short, and then I had a March 21 put that I went long. You can do it that way. They don't have to be that far apart. They just have to be, in a different expiration. And the short one is always closest to expiration. That's the way it has to go. Otherwise, it's still not secured, right? So if I sell the 600 here and I try to, buy the 600 there, it will not be secured. That short put is still going to be considered a naked short put, that it doesn't have security, right? So a secured put is always going to reference the idea that somebody is trying to sell a put and that short put needs coverage, whether it's cash secured or secured based on a long put somewhere out in time or in the same expiration. And your risk or your obligation comes from the difference between those two puts, the difference between the long put and the short put. If you ever have questions on this, please hit us up in the Discord. We love helping out when it comes to, dialing in on these complex options, theories, and tactics. Look forward to seeing you at the next one.